In the dead silence of the Pacific, something broke through the waves. A massive steel monster, the U.S. Navy's nuclear-powered submarine, suddenly surfaced near Taiwan. Within minutes, Chinese radar screens were blinking red, alarms blaring, and command centers erupting in confusion. What was America doing this close to China's backyard? Was this a warning, or something far more dangerous? Today, we dive deep into the shocking story of how one submarine triggered a geopolitical earthquake that could reshape the balance of power in the Pacific. Stay with us till the end, because what happens underwater may decide the next world war. 1. The shock wave beneath the surface. The morning started like any other in the Taiwan Strait. Calm waters, routine patrols, and quiet skies. But hundreds of meters below, a shadow was moving. The USS Ohio, one of America's most powerful nuclear submarines, was gliding silently beneath the surface. Then, almost out of nowhere, it surfaced. The world's deadliest stealth vessel rose into view just 60 nautical miles off Taiwan's eastern coast. To military analysts, this wasn't just a maneuver. It was a message. China's satellites caught it instantly, and within minutes, Beijing's military scrambled jets and warships. Panic set in. Because submarines don't just surface. Not here, not now, unless they're sending a very clear warning. 2. Why the submarine's location matters. The Taiwan Strait isn't just any piece of ocean. It's one of the most volatile flashpoints on Earth. A 110-mile-wide body of water separating democratic Taiwan from communist mainland China. Every move here carries enormous weight. For a U.S. submarine to surface in this exact region means defiance. It's like walking into your rival's living room uninvited and turning on all the lights. The message? We're here, and we're watching. This act tore through Chinese military channels, raising fears that the U.S. was asserting dominance in waters Beijing claims as its own. For years, the U.S. had operated stealthily here, unseen and unheard. But surfacing this time was deliberate. It wasn't about hiding anymore. It was about showing power. 3. Inside the USS Ohio. A floating fortress. To understand the panic in Beijing, you have to understand what surfaced. The USS Ohio isn't a simple submarine. It's a beast. Originally built to carry nuclear missiles, capable of destroying entire cities, it has since been converted to launch special operations and cruise missile strikes. It carries up to 154 Tomahawk missiles, each capable of hitting targets more than 1,000 miles away with pinpoint precision. Its crew of 155 sailors operates like a silent machine, trained to survive months underwater. To China, seeing this particular submarine surface wasn't just intimidating, it was terrifying. Because when Ohio shows up, it means the U.S. Navy is sending a calculated message. We're ready for whatever comes next. 4. The Chinese response. Panic in Beijing. When news of the surfacing hit Beijing, the Chinese military went into overdrive. Fighter jets scrambled from Fujian province, coastal radar systems switched to full alert, and Chinese submarines were immediately ordered to track the American vessel. The Chinese Communist Party's Central Command reportedly held an emergency meeting that same night. What were the Americans trying to prove? Some in China believed it was a deliberate act of humiliation, a way for Washington to challenge Xi Jinping's threats over Taiwan. Chinese state media, however, tried to downplay it, calling it routine activity. But behind closed doors, military analysts admitted they had been caught off guard. The symbolism was too loud to ignore. 5. The message to Taiwan. While China panicked, Taiwan celebrated quietly. The surfacing was seen as a powerful signal of support from Washington. For months, tensions had been rising after repeated Chinese military drills around the island. Taiwan's defense ministry called it a visible reassurance that the U.S. would not abandon them if war broke out. Taiwanese citizens, who had watched Chinese warplanes invade their airspace daily, finally saw something that made them breathe a little easier. The presence of an American nuclear submarine near their coast meant protection, or at least deterrence. It was a reminder to China that Taiwan was not alone. 6. The hidden strategy. Silent deterrence. Why would the U.S. risk surfacing such a valuable asset in contested waters? Military experts say it was part of a strategy called visible deterrence. When tensions rise, showing your power can sometimes prevent war rather than provoke it. The U.S. Navy wanted Beijing to know that their eyes were on every move China made around Taiwan. It was also a psychological operation, demonstrating not just capability, but confidence. "We can come and go as we please," the message seemed to say. In military diplomacy, actions speak louder than words. Surfacing wasn't a threat. It was a statement of readiness. 7. The political earthquake. The timing couldn't have been more strategic. The surfacing came just days after China's Navy conducted massive reunification drills simulating an invasion of Taiwan. It also followed a visit by U.S. officials to Taipei, a move that had already infuriated Beijing. The Pentagon wanted to make something very clear. The United States would not be intimidated. The submarine surfacing was the exclamation mark at the end of that message. Meanwhile, in Washington, officials stayed quiet, neither confirming nor denying the submarine's movements. But make no mistake, the silence was intentional. Because in geopolitics, what isn't said is sometimes louder than what is. 8. The fear of the unknown. What truly terrified Beijing wasn't what they saw, but what they didn't. The USS Ohio was one submarine. But where were the others? The U.S. Navy operates a fleet of nearly 70 submarines, many of them nuclear-powered and equipped for both attack and deterrence. If one surfaced, how many more were hiding beneath the waves? Could there be 2, 5, or even 10 more circling silently under the Taiwan Strait? That uncertainty alone is enough to keep Chinese commanders awake at night. Because, with submarines, you never really know where the next strike could come from. 9. The silent war underwater. While surface ships and aircraft make headlines, the real chess game happens deep below the ocean. Submarines are the unseen players in global conflict. The US and China have been shadowing each other's vessels for years, sometimes coming within meters, without either side realizing it until much later. Under the surface, the Pacific is alive with sonar pings, tracking signals, and electronic warfare. The U.S. Navy's advantage lies in decades of experience and technology. Their submarines are quieter, faster, and deadlier. China has tried to catch up, but it's still years behind in stealth and endurance. That gap gives Washington leverage, and surfacing near Taiwan was a way to remind Beijing of exactly that. 10. China's submarine dilemma. Despite pouring billions into its naval expansion, China's submarine fleet faces serious challenges. Many of its subs are noisy by modern standards, making them easier to track. Their nuclear-powered subs are few, and most are still not capable of long-range patrols. China knows that in a direct underwater confrontation, they would likely lose. That's why the U.S. submarine surfacing was such a psychological blow. It wasn't just about firepower, it was about confidence. America was flexing in an arena where it still dominates completely. For Xi Jinping's leadership, that's a bitter truth to swallow. The future of the Pacific. The Pacific Ocean is no longer just a stretch of blue water. It's the new front line of global power. The U.S. Navy's submarines are its invisible guardians, maintaining a fragile balance between freedom and control. China, meanwhile, continues its massive naval buildup, determined to challenge that dominance. The surfacing near Taiwan was just one chapter in a much larger story. The story of who will rule the world's most important ocean. The battle for influence has already begun, and it's being fought in silence, far below the waves. The surface is just the beginning. When the USS Ohio broke through the waves near Taiwan, it wasn't just surfacing from the deep. It was announcing a new phase of the US-China rivalry. It reminded the world that power doesn't always roar. Sometimes it rises silently from the ocean. In that moment, every radar in Beijing blinked, every analyst held their breath, and every strategist realized the same truth. The next great conflict might not start with missiles or tanks, but with the quiet surfacing of a submarine. So, what do you think? Was this a masterstroke of deterrence, or the beginning of a dangerous escalation? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more deep-dive geopolitical documentaries just like this one. Because beneath the surface, the real stories are always waiting.